Picture yourself riding America's first true high-speed train, gliding through California at 220 miles per hour, shrinking the trip from San Francisco to Los Angeles to less than 3 hours. It was a bold dream. Sleek, quiet, revolutionary. But now, the reality check has hit hard. The latest move by the U.S. government is nothing short of stunning. Let's break it down in today's episode of Great Trainspeed. Did you know that back in 2008, California voters approved what was then considered one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in American history, Proposition 1? A passed, authorizing nearly $10 billion in state bonds to launch a high-speed rail system designed to connect San Francisco and Los Angeles with the long-term goal of creating over 800 miles of track stretching across the state. The plan promised a transformative shift in how Californians move. Trains would operate at speeds up to 220 miles per hour, making stops in major cities like San Diego, San Jose, Fresno, and Sacramento. For many, it represented a forward-looking alternative to congested highways and carbon-intensive air travel, a climate-friendly solution that aligned with California's environmental goals. At the time, optimism was high. Concept art showcased sleek modern trains, gliding along elevated viaducts and cutting through Central Valley farmland. Legislators spoke of a seamless connection between local transit and long-distance rail. Even the federal government joined in, providing several $1 billion in grants as part of the 2009 economic stimulus. But today, nearly 2 decades later, that vision remains largely unrealized. The estimated cost has ballooned from the original $33 billion to $133 billion. And the most tangible result, a 171-mile segment of track is currently under construction through California's Central Valley, with no trains running, no stations completed, and no rolling stock delivered. Back in 2019, the Trump administration attempted to revoke nearly $1 billion in federal funding, citing concerns over delays, cost overruns, and what they described as mismanagement. President Trump labeled the project totally out of control. Though the Biden administration later restored that funding, the core challenges were never fully resolved. Now, in July 2025, the project faces its most serious threat yet. The Federal Railroad Administration has released a 310-page report stating that the California High-Speed Rail Authority is in default of its federal grant agreements. The consequences are significant. If corrective action isn't taken soon, up to $4 billion in federal grants could be withdrawn, a move that would severely jeopardize the project's future. To date, approximately $14 billion has already been spent. 82% from California state sources, 18% from the federal government. And yet, there is still no operational segment, no active test track, and the core components of the system, like rolling stock and electrical systems, remain in procurement or planning stages. The FRA has given California until the end of the month to respond. The state must now submit a detailed plan that convinces federal officials it can meet its obligations and deliver results. If that effort fails, the withdrawal of $4 billion in grants could bring the project's momentum to a halt, perhaps permanently. So, the big question now is, how will California respond? Will the state rally the political will, technical leadership, and financial oversight needed to move forward? Or will this remain one of the most expensive cautionary tales in American infrastructure? We'll dig deeper into that in the next section. And if you're following the story closely, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you stay updated on every development in the world of high-speed rail. On June 5, 2025, the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, dropped a major 310-page report that could seriously change the future of California's high-speed rail project. According to the report, the agency in charge, the California High-Speed Rail Authority, has failed to meet several key requirements tied to federal funding. These include hitting construction deadlines, keeping finances transparent, and proving they have a realistic plan to finish the job. The FRA didn't hold back. They said the California High-Speed-Rail Authority doesn't have a reliable schedule, can't keep costs under control, and doesn't seem to have a clear path forward, especially when it comes to finishing the Central Valley section by 2033. The report pointed out ongoing delays in buying land, poor coordination between different parts of the project, and major management issues. So what happens now? The federal government is threatening to pull $4 billion in funding, money already set aside through 2026. That funding is essential to keeping work going in the Central Valley, so losing it would be a huge setback. And this isn't just a warning. The FRA has launched a formal review process that could end with them canceling the grant agreements altogether, which would put the entire project at risk. CHSRA isn't taking this lying down. CEO Ian Choudhury responded with a 14-page letter to the FRA, calling the report unfair and misleading. He said the FRA twisted the data, ignored recent audit results, and used unclear methods to reach their conclusions. He also pointed out that just last year, in October 2024, the FRA itself issued a report that didn't flag any serious problems. The Rail Authority also pushed back on the funding concerns. In its 2024 business plan, the estimated cost of the first section, called the Early Operating Section, is between $32.7 and $36.3 billion, and $28.2 billion is already in hand. Governor Gavin Newsom's May 2025 budget proposes extending the cap-and-trade program through 2045, which could provide another $1 billion each year to help close the gap and keep things moving toward the 2033 goal. Meanwhile, construction hasn't stopped. As of June 2025, CHSRA has completed 55 major structures in the Central Valley. Things like bridges, overpasses, and rail separations. Two standout projects are the 4,741-foot San Joaquin River Viaduct in Fresno and the Hanford Viaduct in Kings County. Track installation for the first 119 miles is expected to begin later this year. The project has already created over 15,300 good-paying jobs, mostly for local workers in the Central Valley. On any given day, around 1,700 people are out on construction sites. The full route from San Francisco to Los Angeles has cleared all environmental reviews, so the building can move forward once more money comes in. Governor Newsom has admitted there have been delays, mostly due to issues with eminent domain. They had to secure over 2,270 properties and lawsuits, but he still stands by the project. Back in January, he said, "No state in America is closer to launching high-speed rail than California. Despite the challenges, the bullet train still has strong public support." A UC Berkeley poll from April 2022 found that 67% of voters support the project, especially among Democrats, where that number rises to 73%. Only about a quarter of Republicans said the same. Over the years, the project has had backing from leaders across party lines, like Governors Jerry Brown, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Gavin Newsom. But there's also been fierce opposition, especially from California Republicans like Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who argue that the state should be focusing more on water infrastructure than on trains. What do you think about this project? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Let's be real. California's high-speed rail project has had a pretty rough ride. The plan has been drawn, redrawn, argued over, delayed, and patched together more times than anyone can count. Way too many consultants got involved, lawsuits piled up, and it started to feel like a gold mine for people trying to cash in on a state-funded mess. The money has come in waves. Start, stop, start again, which just makes things slower and more expensive. And politically, It's been an easy target for critics on both sides, with everyone taking turns blaming someone else. Even with all that, the final environmental impact report finally got approved, and construction is moving along. But let's not kid ourselves, there's still a long way to go. So why keep going? Why hasn't California just given up? Because the problems this rail line is trying to solve aren't going away anytime soon. First up, traffic. California's roads are famously jammed. People waste hours stuck behind the wheel, and the state burns through over $30 billion a year just to keep that car-heavy system running. A bullet train could change that. A ride from San Francisco to LA in 3 hours sounds a whole lot better than spending half a day crawling down I-5. And building more freeways or airport terminals to handle the same number of travelers? That would actually cost even more. Then there's housing. California's affordability crisis has pushed people farther and farther from where their jobs are. That's why the rail line cuts through the Central Valley. It's not random, it's about connecting more affordable areas to the state's major job centers. Europe and Asia have shown how fast trains can link up regions, shift growth, and open new doors for people. California wants to do the same. Give more folks the option to live where it's affordable and still get to work without losing half their day. Let's take a moment to zoom out. While California has spent nearly 2 decades struggling to break ground on a single high-speed rail corridor, other countries have surged ahead. In that same time, China has built over 45,000 kilometers of high-speed rail, with trains reaching speeds of 350 kilometers per hour and connecting megacities across the country in just a few hours. Japan, the original pioneer of bullet trains, continues to expand its Shinkansen network with remarkable precision. Its latest N700S series boasts over 99% on-time performance and features advanced earthquake emergency stopping systems. Meanwhile, European nations like France, Spain, and Italy operate extensive high-speed lines supported by public-private partnerships, centralized oversight, and streamlined procurement strategies that help keep costs under control and schedules on track. So what sets these countries apart? In a word, governance. Unlike California, where the rail project has been bogged down by a fragmented system of agencies, local veto points, political gridlock, and constant revisions, these nations often empower centralized infrastructure bodies to make rapid, unified decisions, especially around land use. That doesn't mean their projects are flawless, but it does help explain why California remains stuck with no operational trains after 17 years while the rest of the world races forward. California's high-speed rail faces its biggest test yet. With $4 billion in federal funding at risk, the project hangs in the balance. After years of delays, rising costs, and political battles, the vision of fast, clean travel is still alive, but barely. Whether the state pushes forward or pulls the plug may come down to what happens next. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video as much as we enjoyed making it. See you next time.